Today's video could get Western. We're going to be doing an unsanctioned
shenanigans.
Yeah, that word right there. Let's get to it. Alrighty, so we're going to be doing a modification to the eco-worthy 100 amp hour server rack battery. If you're not aware, from different versions, they have version 1, 2, and 3. Version 1 and 2 have the positive and negative terminals that are on the front, reversed from the standard of the rest of the server rack batteries in the world. And then in version 3, they finally put them in the correct spots to conform to the standards just like everybody else. So that kind of creates a problem if you already have version 1 and 2 and you're going to expand and get version 3. If you do that, version 3, the terminals are on the other side, so if you need to parallel this group of batteries in, you're going to be crossing your positive and negative wires because they're swapped. And I guess if you do have version 1 and 2, let's say you have 4 of them, all of those are lined up, and then you do expand and get 1 or 2 more, and you can only get version 3. The question is do you want to swap around all the terminals on version 2 to match version 3, or do you just want to swap around version 3 to match version 2? If you even wanted to do this. I mean, you can do the whole crossy thing with the wires and stuff. I don't want to do any of that. Basically, what I want to do is I want everything to match. I want all my version 2 and version 3 to have the positives and negatives all on the same side. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Alrighty? Let's get to it. All right, so I've got both eco-worthy server rack batteries sitting right over here. The one on the left is going to be version 2, and the one on the right is version 3. So this being the latest version, they have gone with the standard location for your positive and negative terminals, basically because every other server rack battery that is out there, this is typically how they are arranged. In version 1 and 2, they were actually flipped, or they started in this direction and then they have upgraded to this direction. The only problem with that is if you already have version 1 and 2 and you do get version 3 to expand your battery capacity, they're flipped. So whenever they're stacked on top of each other, you're going to need longer cables to cross over each other so you can parallel them to the next battery, etc. So in this video, I'm going to do some modifications of my own. This is something you probably shouldn't do. It's just something that I'm going to be doing. So my original thought was I was going to open up version 3 and just see if I could swap the terminals basically to match version 2. But I think what I'm going to do is open up version 2 and swap those terminals around to match version 3, because all the other server rack batteries that I have over there, they're already in this configuration, and then any other future server rack batteries that I get, they'll all match version 3 over here. So I might as well switch, or see if I can switch version 2. I am going to open both of these up real quick just in case you don't want to switch version 2. Maybe you want to switch version 3. I'll show you the differences real quick. Yeah, so let's get to it. I have already removed all the screws for these. Alright, so we'll take a look at version 3 first, just in case you wanted to swap these around to match version 2 or version 1. And I guess the only reason you would do that is if you have a bunch of the previous version and you just get like 1 or 2 of these to expand. This one's actually going to be the easiest one to do because all of the wiring inside is long enough for you to switch. These negative cables right over here, obviously you can see they're plenty long, so if you moved the negative over to the positive location, you're just going to have a little extra wire in here, and that's it. It actually goes for the positive as well. The positive is plenty long enough. It's going to be a little tricky to see in here, but right down there is the circuit breaker, so the wire comes out of the circuit breaker and loops up and then over to these terminals right here. So if you move the positive over to the negative, you're going to have plenty of room. There's not really any other modifications that you need to do other than swapping the terminals around, and that's basically it. For version 2, it is a little bit different. Since the negative is on this side, we have short negative cables right over here going right up to the BMS, and it's really the same thing for the positive right down here. It's the same setup. Comes out of the circuit breaker and it comes up and over, okay? So if we want to swap this one around, the positive has plenty of wire length in there because it's just going to kind of flop over on itself. But what we will have to do is replace the negative battery cables that go up to the BMS, because obviously those are too short. We basically just need to do the same thing that they did here with these really long ones right here. That's basically all we need to do. So we're going to need some new wire and some new terminal lugs on the ends, okay? All right, so these are going to be the ring terminals that we're going to use for this project. I did just order these right off of Amazon. For some reason, when I saw the picture, it said 20 pieces. I just assumed it was 20 ring terminals. It is not. It's actually 10 ring terminals and then 10 pieces of heat shrink, which I don't really need. So anyway, make sure you read the description before you buy stuff. With that out of the way, these are the ring terminals that we're going to be using. We're basically going to mimic what they have already done. So they're shoving 2 number 8s into the number 6 ring terminal. And then on the other side, you know, they've got 2 ring terminals, which will go over to the BMS. So that's basically what we're going to be doing. If for some reason you want these exact same ring terminals, I will link them down below. And then for the wiring, which I already have on hand, so I'll just be using that. It's just the same wiring that they're using in there. It's the flexible silicone type, and we're going to be using 8 AWG because that's what they're already using. Okay, so if you need some of this, again, you can get it right off of Amazon. I will link it down below. Alrighty, to get this party started, we're going to take our black or negative cable here, and we're just going to kind of set it in here real loose. We're just going to get like an average length. So we're going to go up to the furthest bolt away and route the cable around the outer edge, you know, where it would go. And we're going to meet up with the positive cable right here because that's where it's basically going to go. So we're only going to need this length right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut that off. Boom, just like that. So that is going to be our cable length right there, okay? So I'm setting it right over here, wrapping it around. As long as we reach the longest one away, we'll have no problem meeting up with the closer one right here, okay? So technically, depending on how many batteries you need, you're going to need 2 pieces of wire per battery. And if you're curious for the cable length that I'll be doing, it is roughly 2 feet long, maybe a hair longer. Okay, so we're going to need 2 of these per battery. Here's my next piece of wire right here. And I'll just cut the other one right here. Boom. And actually, if you did want to stagger your wires just like they have done, you could basically cut one that is 2 inches shorter. All right, and that'll take care of that difference right here, which is actually what they did on version 2. I can't say what they did on version 3, but version 2, they're basically 2 different lengths. So we could technically do that. If you wanted to do that, just make one wire 2 inches shorter. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to make both of them the exact same length. So since I'm going to be doing 2 batteries, I need 2 more of these wires. Boom. Alright, got my cables right here. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to use one of the 6 AWG terminals right here. We're going to cram both of those into that side, and then on the other side is going to have 2 ring lugs just like that. Okay, so next thing we need to do is strip back our wire. If you're using this kind of wire, just be real careful because it cuts real easy with a razor blade. Just be real careful. You want to keep as many pieces of wires in there as you can. I just give a light pressure on there and that's it. Boom. Alright, so for crimping, yeah, I probably should have thought about this before I did the project, but I technically don't really have the correct size for the number 8s here, but I do have one of these ratcheting crimpers right here with the replaceable, you know, you can change it out for different heads and stuff like that. This one, the number on the head is 10N. All right, we're going to give that one a try. I don't actually know how well it's going to work, but we're going to be going into the biggest one in here for number 10, and we're going to give that a try. If it doesn't work, I'm just going to put it in a vise and crimp it that way, the old school way. Here we go. Oh, actually, that is a beautiful crimp. Okay, never mind. That is a beautiful crimp. I like that. It looks really, really good. This is on there nice and tight. I want another crimp in there. I think I'm going to do it. Yep, I'm going for it. Could ruin it. All right, I got 2 crimps in that one, and I like that quite a bit. So I'm gonna stick with that for the small ones. All right, these are my crimps for the 10 AWG side. So it just basically dimples it on this side, and that's what the other side looks like. I like having 2 crimps in each one. It's a really good mechanical hold. Now on the other side, we have to shove both wires into this one ring terminal right here, which I hope both of them go in. But if they don't, then we'll end up doing something just slightly different as a plan B. And that's why I'm doing this here, and you don't have to. Oh, they both do go in there. Shove it on. Wow, that actually worked really good. Okay, cool. So for this one, I am going to hex crimp it because I don't have anything mechanically like this that will allow me to do that. I'm going to be using one of these hydraulic crimpers right here. Again, these don't make the best crimps in the world. This hydraulic crimper was pretty cheap. It came with a bunch of random dies that are sized in millimeters and different stuff, not, you know, what I'm used to. So I did find one that works on 6 AWG lugs okay, so that's the one that I'll be using. On here it says it would be a size 16, whatever that means. So for these, of course, I try to make them as straight as I can, and then I push the wires and terminal this way so the dies kind of line up as best as they can, and then I crimp it. One crimp there. I am going to crimp this a few different ways so we make sure we get a nice good crimp on here. Boom, there is my crimp. Not too bad. Try to pull on these, see if I can pull them out. Okay, I'm not able to pull these out, so that is a good mechanical crimp. I was kind of worried about that. All right, we'll do the next one. What was in there? What's that? All right, there's my 2 hex crimps right here. I just pulled on them pretty freaking tight and they did not come off at all. So that is a successful crimp on this side. Now all we need to do is throw some heat shrink on these, and that's it for the wiring. As well use the heat shrink that came with it. It is the kind that has the glue in it, so that's nice. Boom, got all the terminals heat shrinked, and just FYI, the heat shrink that came with these terminals, although it is the marine type, which has the glue behind it, you know, to keep it all nice and sealed, etc. I've seen better. It's not the greatest heat shrink in the world, but that's okay. Nobody else is gonna see it. All right, next part could get pretty Western if you're not paying attention. So pay attention to what you're doing. Alrighty, step 1 is gonna be to cover up your batteries just in case, well, just in case you accidentally touch a wire to a battery. That could be pretty Western right there. The next thing we're going to be doing is disconnecting the negative side from the BMS and the terminal right here that goes up to the front. And then after that, what we could, if we really wanted to be extra safe, there is a disconnect on this little red wire, if I can get it. This little red wire that's down in here, that's kind of hard to see, that is a disconnect. That is like the BMS power on and off button, which connects right here. Usually those are actually connected to that front switch, but on these they're not. So anyway, if you really wanted to get extra careful, you could disconnect that right there. I'm not gonna do that because I know I'm pretty confident in myself that I'm not going to short anything out. But whenever we do get to the positive side, I'm either going to tape up the terminals or I'm gonna put a bag over them so they can't touch anything else. All right, so what we're gonna do next is we're going to disconnect the negative right here and on the BMS right here, and those are a 10 millimeter. So if you're just using a wrench like this, make sure you cover up, you know, as much metal as you can. And then if you're using a socket, it's nice if you have a plastic handled socket wrench, stuff like that. Okay, so those are the tools that I'll be using right here. All right, step one technically was making sure your battery is turned off, and then step two is covering up all the terminals right here, okay? So we can't touch anything. Step three is I'm gonna disconnect from the BMS, and then I'm gonna disconnect right over here. That can fit in there. Okay, that does not fit in there, so I am gonna have to use the wrench. Those are on there pretty tight. I don't know the actual torque specifications for these. I'm just gonna use the calibrated elbow for this. All right, there's the first one. I'm gonna put it off to the side. Here's number two, going off to the side. And then I'm going for this one right here. Boom, there we go. And we're also going to reuse these protection covers right here, so make sure you take those off. The next one we're gonna do is the other bus bar connection right here. And lift off the bus bar and the bolt at the same time. Next step is to remove these terminals right here, and it's just a number 2 Phillips head screw. This should just pop right out. Nice and easy. Boom. Next thing we're gonna do is remove these two terminals, the main battery cable right here, and then the smaller wire that wraps around to the BMS. All right, here's something I just kind of thought of right now. I don't know if the case has any sort of ground attached to it, so I'm gonna check from the battery positive to ground. I don't know if there's anything there or not. I'm gonna turn the battery on real quick, just in case one of those decides to touch. I'm not getting anything on there. Just FYI. So if you're kind of worried about it, you could use a screwdriver to disconnect this as well, which I'm doing right here. So we have this one right here disconnected. Okay, I'm just gonna lean mine right off to the edge. Now we're gonna disconnect this one, which is on there pretty good. One is on there pretty good. Okay, so we're removing all three at the exact same time. We have the screw, we have the bus bar, and the ring terminal right here. What you should do is tape or bag these up, which I'm not going to because I'm confident in my skills. Now what we're gonna do is remove the positive terminals from here and put them over here on this side. I have my drill on setting 1, by the way. And since we're over here, we're gonna go ahead and put the negative one back on. So next step is gonna be putting our positive bus bar on the terminals down here and then reinstalling our cables. So I'm gonna put the main positive on the first lug right here. Then I'm gonna put the other one, the smaller one, on the other terminal right here. Give them a little torque here. All right, now we're gonna install our newly made negative cables, but we're also gonna install those thermal sleeves we removed from the other cables. So we'll just throw those on here real quick. Just like that. And we can put these wherever we need them. All right, we're gonna start on this side first. So we're gonna take our bus bar and one screw and get that installed. Doesn't have to be tight, we're just kind of getting it in position. All right, and then next thing, of course, is the battery lug. Actually, you know what? These are kind of the wrong size. So next time I would get a little bit smaller ring terminals. So that is my bad right there. I didn't check any of this, I just kind of assumed. But I'm going with it. And I'll just get it right in the center. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten those down. Click. Nice little torque. Click. Boom. Now we're on to the other side. Again, I should have looked up the actual ring terminal size, but I didn't. That is my bad. And since we're already here, I am going to tighten this one down. Click. And now the last one. Click. Boom, and done. We are complete. So there is our negative right over here. I'm going to follow that around. I've got the sheathing kind of near the positive terminals right over there, and those wrap around, connect to the BMS right over here. And then for the positive wires, we just kind of folded the positive wires over to match up to the positive bus bar. That's pretty much it. And that's it. That was super, super easy. Huh? Huh? We should just go all the way up. All right, I think all we need to do now is turn it on. All right, those power up okay. Check some battery voltage real quick. 52.5 volts. Nice. Boom, and done. Nice. All right, so now we got version 2 that looks like version 3. Super, super easy. Just making a new set of wires and swapping those around. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. All right, so next thing I need to do real quick, since I have a second battery, I'm gonna go ahead and do the other one, and then we'll be done. Boom, number 2 is done. Got the negative on this side, positive on this side. Nice. Super, super easy, and that one went a lot faster since I didn't have to move the camera around and all that kind of stuff. It was basically 12 minutes. That one was done. Now I am gonna have to fix my positive markings here because these things kind of have a mind of their own and you can't really do a very good job with those. So got the negative side fixed. I'll have to work on my paint job for the positive. But other than that, super, super easy. Took less than 12 minutes. You can see that. Nice. Yeah, might as well go ahead and put the ground screws on. Now I'm not going down to the bottom frame quite yet. It'll just be grounding all these together. Boom. Now from version 3 to version 2, there is a slight battery cable length difference. Yeah, that's just what they did. So, which way is going to look the best? This side, I don't know if we can make it look the same or not because we have communication this time. Can we get around that? I think we can. Let's see. That one there. Out to in, out to in, out to in. Haven't decided which one's going to be number 1, but probably that one. This one's number 2. Battery number 3. First 2 are on. Battery number 4, the third one is on. There we go. Boom, just like that. Boom and done. Looks fan-freaking-tastic. Got all the wires on, got all the grounding wires, got all the communication wires all installed. I even have a charger on it so I can make sure they're all charged up to 100% state of charge. The only thing I need to do now is remove the brace underneath my stairs over there so I can slide this whole rack right underneath. And that's it, I'll be ready to go. Now the reason I didn't start at the very, very bottom is because I was gonna see if I could install the 100 amp hour VATRER batteries that I have over there, and they are too thick. If I put both of them in there, I need a minimum of 14 inches, And I don't have it unless I remove the 2 rails right underneath here and maybe do it that way. I'm not sure. That was the main reason why I started at the top and worked my way down, is because I was going to put the VATRER batteries at the bottom. But now that they won't fit technically, I could move these down to the very, very bottom so the center of gravity, you know, is a little bit lower for whenever you roll it around and stuff like that. But I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem rolling it right over there, you know, 30 feet away. So yeah, there you go. That was my whole reason of basically starting. Ooh, I wonder. No. Okay, so I can't even put them up here. Well, I just had a quick thought. Maybe if I remove these 2 and put them at the bottom and I put the 2 VATRER batteries up here, maybe I could get it in there that way, and I don't. I've only got a little less than 13 inches. So if you have some VATRER batteries, the best place for them is going to be at the very, very bottom, but you will have to take out the 2 side rails. Oh, and one last thing before I go is the terminals that I bought. I bought 5/16, basically like an M8, and I only went off of that because that's what these front bolts were, so I just assumed the inside ones were the same. They are not the same. They are a little bit smaller. They are 1/4 inch. So if you're doing this, just make sure the eyelet side is 1/4 inch. Right, Lauren?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right. All right, that's pretty much all I got, and I'll see you on the next one.
See you on the next one.
I'll see you on the next one.
I'll see you later, alligator.
See you later, alligator.
Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.
Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.
I'll see you on the...
I'll see you
in the next
I'll
one.
see you in the next one.
I'll see
you in... That's what you did.
I'll see you in the
I'll
future.
see you in the future.
On a video.
On a video.
That has me in it.
That has me in it.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned, folks.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Tell all your friends.
Tell all your friends.
Do cool stuff.
Do cool stuff.
I like that you're just repeating
I am.
everything I say.
Everything.
I'm a bloody wanker.
I'm a Alright, that's probably it, right? Huh? Cool.